Hey guys, it's Gina Milicia from GinaMilicia.com, and today I want to show you how to use the graduated filter in the local adjustments palette in Lightroom. So that's it there, the little rectangular looking tool. You can either click on the tool or hit M as a shortcut, and basically you'll get this little drop down menu, and you can provide local adjustments non-destructively to your images, and you can adjust all these variables: color, temperature, exposure, contrast, highlights, etc. Where this tool is really cool is fixing up skies. So I've got this image here on the screen that I shot in Iceland. I really loved this rustic looking shed on the property, and I went ahead and shot this with my 16 to 35mm. Did an okay job. Unfortunately, I didn't expose correctly for the sky, so it's a bit of a white hot mess here in the left hand corner. But if I go back to my overall adjustments here, I can just adjust the exposure overall on the image, and you can see that there is a lot of detail still left in the sky. I shot raw, so the great thing about shooting raw is you can really bring back that detail as long as you haven't overexposed too much, and in this case I haven't, and I'm able to save that sky and bring in a lot more detail and really bring out make the overall shot look a lot better. So just dropping the exposure and reducing the highlights makes the sky look great, but the rest of the image is now underexposed, so that's not going to work. So this is where the graduated filter comes into its own. So basically I'm going to now just address this sky, and what I want to do is improve the overall appearance and detail of the clouds, and really make the sky pop. So hit M to bring down the open up the marquee tool. So you'll see that the first thing that happens is your cursor will change to a cross. Now, depending on if you were using what you were doing in your last lot of retouching, your sliders are going to be all over the place. So just make sure that you reset them. So you can reset them all one by one, which is really hard to do and takes forever, or the really quick shortcut is just double click on the effect, that word there, effect, and that'll zero everything, which saves a lot of time. So what I'm going to do, just to show you how this graduated filter works, is I'm just going to drop the exposure down by a couple of stops, just so you can see the effect. And so basically I've got my cursor here, which is now in a cross, and if I go to the area that I want to affect is basically the sky. So if I start at the top of my image and just drag down, you'll see that I'm dragging out 3 lines, and basically that's the filter having an effect. So it's graduated, which means that everything above this line, so if I just hover over the pin there, you can see the red overlay shows you where it's having an effect and how it feathers the effect over the adjustment. So basically everything in this area between the top and the middle line is going to be affected by 100% by what you tell Lightroom to apply to that area, and everything below this middle line is going to start to feather out till about the middle of this this second portion, and then it's not going to affect the image at all. So like a good graduated adjustment should start to feather out and sort of blend in with the horizon. So that's what I'm trying to do with this image here. So if I just go show you before, that was the sky before the adjustment, and after, you can see that it's looking really good. probably the problem is that this sky is now looking a bit unrealistic, so I'm just going to knock that back and not quite apply that much, so my sky looks a little bit better and the blue isn't too unreal. And I'm just going to drop down my shadows, so I'm picking up a little bit more detail in the clouds here, and that's really working. I can drop that down all the way, and that's starting to look really good. I like to add a little bit of clarity to my clouds. That really makes them pop as well. So that's looking really good. I'm pretty happy with that. The problem is that I've still got this part of the image. I know there's a lot more detail, so what I can do is I can actually apply a new graduated filter to that area. So if I just hit new, I get my cross comes up again. The first adjustment that I did has now been switched off, so it's not going to affect that area. I've got a new area and I can do a new selection. Now this time I don't want to go over this part of the sky. I actually just want to do this edge here, so it's kind of like on an angle, and the great thing about this tool is I can bring it in on that angle. So I've still got my exposure has gone back to the original setting, which was like minus 2.22, so I can actually just pull it across and get it to a point where it's looking like I want to avoid the blue parts, and just bring it up around there. That's looking pretty good. There, and I can just knock the exposure back and just bring in the highlights, and I've done. That's looking pretty good. Now if I wanted to, I could make the sky, the clouds warmer, so add some warmth, which would be great for like a sunset shot or something like that, or just to give it a bit more of an artier look. And I can also do that if I turn on the earlier adjustment that I did. I can also warm up the sky there and just give it a sort of a late evening feel to it as well, but I'm not going to do that for this image, so I'm just going to knock that back to where I started. So that's the shot there. I'll just add a little bit of clarity again to those clouds. So let me show you before, after. So fantastic. So I'm very happy with how I've brought the sky in. Now I want to just come back. Oh, one more thing. So let's just go back to here. When I fixed up the sky, the problem with this tool is if you've got something in the foreground, like I have here, like this shed, it applied the adjustment and the exposure to the shed as well. So now the shed is looking a little bit underexposed, but there's a really good way that I can counter that effect, and that's simply by opening up the shadows. So I've got my adjustment selected, open up the shadows, and I'm just bringing back the exposure that that I picked up before. So that's when it was darker, and now I've just fixed up that shed there, and it's looking really good there. So I'll go back to my overall adjustments and just tweak that. I might want to open up the shadows just a little bit more just to bring those back in. Make sure there's a good black in the image, so I'm just holding down the Option or the Alt key and clicking over to the left, a little bit of white, and just to finish it off, adding just a little bit of clarity. And there we have it. So there's before, there's after, using the graduated filter.